Hello world, it's Jennifer here at Eureka Astrology and Healing, and today we're going to be talking about the astrological forecast for the Capricorn new moon. The Capricorn new moon is on January 11th, 2024. Let's get into it. So, first and foremost, I want to say, as always, this is a general forecast, and so these are all going to be themes that we're all going to be experiencing, but in different ways in our life. So it could be in your house of family, it could be in your house of work, it could be in your house of relationships. Responsibility is going to be one of these key terms we're going to be talking about today. And so it could be like, where are you being responsible in your relationships, including to yourself? Or maybe where are you being responsible to your family or to your health and your body? So just remember that this is general and it's going to be impacting you more specifically how your chart is lined up and also with planets that you have. So if you're interested, check out my website, EurekaAstrologyandHealing.com, and I can do a forecast for you so you can find out how it's going to be interacting and playing out in your unique chart. With that being said, this is also Central Standard Time, 5:57 a.m. Adjust your clocks accordingly if you're doing new moon rituals. Some people like to do it right at the time. Some people wait actually a day after. I don't have a preference unless there are really hard aspects going on. And so as I'm talking about the themes, think about this for your new moon rituals if you're going to be doing any of those. With that, let's talk about the notables. I try to keep this a little bit short. First and foremost, a whole lot of earth and a whole lot of water. So it's time again to continue, and I kind of talked about this last video if I remember correctly, continuing to nurture with the soil and the water. All you need is the seed. So it's a good time to have this, I want to say, like in the Northern Hemisphere, it's really hard to put a seed out in the ground right now. You could if you had a greenhouse, but kind of gathering your seeds and thinking about where do you want to sow these, and like using this energy to really nourish what's going to be coming up for you. And it's a great kind of time to also rest and relax. These are yin elements. It's time to receive. It's the seed resting as well. We're not saying that things have to grow necessarily, but it's almost like nurturing through resting. Like, hey, guess what? If you rest now here in the winter, in the Northern Hemisphere that is, you'll have energy for the summer. You'll have energy for the spring, for your seeds to grow, for your ideas to get moving and grooving. So take a cue from nature and listen, because it's actually not only just what's really happening, but the astrology is kind of supporting it right now. The next is, so it's a new moon in Capricorn. So of course there's going to be a lot of Capricorn theme going on here in my reading, but I want to say doubly so. All in total, there are 5 planets on this day in Capricorn. So it is to the extreme Capricorn season. Both the sun and the moon, of course, are there. Then we have, I believe, Pluto, Mercury, Mars, championing along as well. And so I created these little action words here. It is time to set up, take responsibility, see it, know it, feel it, go for it. And I also say transform it. Just do all that. Step up in these areas in your life where this is falling in your chart. And like I said, see it, know it, feel it, go for it, and transform it. And so again, I'm not saying you're going to necessarily, the go for it is the Mars. So like, yeah, it's not going to be fast. It's going to be like, okay, I'm dedicated. I'm disciplined. I'm starting my routine. I'm starting this foundation now, because the elements of Capricorn, I'm saying all these fun action words. It sounds like you're going to be running and going real fast. So it's like, no, it's the tortoise in the race here. It's like, all right, one foot after the other, chopping the wood, carrying the water, day by day by day, and waking up and continuing to do it. And knowing that with this continuation and this commitment and discipline, there will be fruit. This nurturing will bring fruit, but this fruit is a slow growing fruit. It's not fast and wayfair, like, it grows quickly in a season, is gone for equally as quickly. This is slow growing, but very nurturing fruit. And we'll get into more of Capricorn there, but I feel like I wanted to use those little fun phrases because it's just like, wow, there's a lot of Capricorn going on. And on that note, the last notable is that Pluto leaves Capricorn January 13th. So a couple days after this new moon. And what does that mean? Well, it can mean everything. It can mean nothing. But for me, because Pluto takes so long to go around the full cycle of the constellations, 260 some years, give or take, as the crow flies. So, once it leaves Capricorn officially, it's not going to be there again for 200 some years. This is not the final exit, but this is the second exit. The first time was in the spring of 2023. So themes we're going to come up with: Pluto, transformation, death, rebirth, also like toxic things that need to come out. It's going into Aquarius again. So that can be like, where are you an individual? Where, not necessarily like you have to be seen, but like just expressing your individuality and your uniqueness, maybe your independence as well. And like, this is kind of interesting, using like, how can it be maybe even toxic to be too independent? Think about America. We promote a very independent lifestyle, like, single family units, you got to do it on your own. How is that working for us? I mean, it's our Pluto return of the foundation of the country, with, so to speak. But there has been several other ones in different ways. But is it working for us? And then, of course, the big, I would say elephant in the room, but the big robot in the room is like technology. New technology, especially like the AI, the artificial intelligence. There was some definite flares in the spring about like it coming out, being a little more advanced than it had been in years, but also some of the dark sides of it. And what is that going to look like for us? Like, how do we use this AI appropriately, right? Ethically, humanitarianly. I know I shouldn't say human, it's not human, but let's think about this for a little bit. Because this is going to be the second passing, and it will go back and forth, and eventually, in 2025, it'll be there in Aquarius permanently. But we're going to feel this shift. It's slow, but it is dynamic. And then also, on like a little bit more, hopefully it's not a dark note, hopefully we start taking care of our air. But Pluto is toxins, and Aquarius is a whole lot of air. Also, well, like I said, technology and electricity. So hopefully we focus in on cleaning up our air, and maybe also the internet, or, technology. Let's hope. Here's to hoping. Let's get into the actual forecast here. So I've got a lot to say, and again, went energetically. And the first things, I looked at a lot of the aspects, and I did a lot of musing, and two things came to me while I was meditating in the bathtub last week. One is the word reflect. Reflecting on, and this is going to be dealing with, so I can give you a little backstory of when Mercury went retrograde, and it was in Capricorn just about a month and a half ago, went back into Sagittarius, and now it's back into Capricorn. This was a reflection point, and I still think it's important for us to do a little musing on what we reflected upon as Mercury went back and gathered, because what I saw it as when it went back into Sagittarius is reflecting on the experiences and beliefs that have gotten us to this point in our life, and also especially involving responsibility and the foundation we've created for ourselves. That can be a lot of different things, so don't try and make it narrow. It could be in relationships. Like I said, where is this in your chart? It really is going to make the difference. But kind of reflect on that, because Mercury went back and was like, we're going to be building stuff here, but do I want to go on bad beliefs, or do I really look at all the experiences I had? So something to like contemplate here, because again, now it's in Capricorn, and it wants to think about how it's making that foundation, but it's wise to use what you've learned, right? That's the Sagittarius energy. What have you learned from what you did? The next step is vision. So first we reflect, and the next is vision. And why I'm saying that is the energy in Pisces. So both Saturn and Neptune are there. Neptune's been there a long time, hanging out with the band. Saturn, not as long, but Saturn's got, it's 2.5 year stint. It's been there for a little while now, but it's still got quite a ways to go. And why I say vision is because the Neptune has been visioning in Pisces. It's been hanging around, but it's made it nebulous and like slippery, as they say in my shamanic class. It's like you can't quite grasp the concept. You can't quite see the vision because you just kind of feel it. You're having a dream. You wake up, you can't remember. Saturn's like, no, you're going to remember that dream. Let's do something with that dream. Let's bring it. Let's make it material. Let's make it manifest. Saturn is bringing Pisces, kind of whipping it into shape, and universal love is great, but how can we help foster it in this world? I mean, meditation's great. Maybe that's how you do it. You discipline to meditation, but maybe you start a foundation to support your fellow, human or animal, anything, this whole planet. You can pick, right? Supporting positive energy. So this vision is becoming manifest, or is becoming very much visible to us, in my opinion, at this time, because Saturn is focused in on it. It's like, ugh, I really want to get this into shape here right now. I really want this to happen. I know it's not going to happen over or quickly. It understands it's going to be that slow and steady, but it's trying to get that going. And what's great about this is that we have all those planets in Capricorn. They all answer to, so to speak, that Saturn in Pisces, because Saturn rules Capricorn. So all those things we're trying to nourish and grow like that, it's all with that vision in mind, all that dream that's in mind. So this is a really fertile and exciting time at this new moon on this aspect. Now I have, that's kind of like the light. I also have a little bit more, not dark, but things to reflect as you're trying to grow these things and trying to nourish these things and bring them down into reality. Because, so I looked at some of the degrees here, and I'm trying to weave in a little bit of the aspects, and I want to talk about the name of this new moon from Raven Caldera's Moon Phase Astrology, because it really ties in well with a different part of the theme of this chart. So the name of this moon is the Forgotten One's Moon. And it's really important, I think, this phrasing. So it's a new moon, and it's often a child. So let's think about the story of this forgotten one's moon, this forgotten child. Why is this child forgotten? Well, this is not a child who breaks down and has emotional outbursts, and so they're not getting a lot of attention that way. They're not necessarily the shining star, on the stage and making everybody laugh. They're not even the one that's really rebelling against the parents, unless the parents are like a little more wacky, so to speak, and not normal, so to speak, right? They're doing stuff out of like the norm. That would be the only way this moon maybe kind of rebels, but it's just not about that. This moon is about discipline and responsibility. It keeps its emotions to itself, and it's just getting kind of overlooked, which is really painful for this moon, because this child, this energy, has this discipline and this dedication, and it knows it has what it takes to do what it needs to get done. It kind of has this grand vision, and it knows it takes time, and yet it's being overpassed, and it's kind of being forgotten, ignored, and even worse, underestimated sometimes. Like, an adult coming to that kid, you can't do that. You don't have the resources. You don't have the discipline. Oh, that's painful for that moon to hear. You can't do that because you are able to dedicate. Ouch. Like, that is what Capricorn is all about, like sticking to it, even when it's hard, even when it's ugly, even when it seems like there's no possible way it can be done. That Capricorn has it in them, but when they're told they can't, especially when they're young, that can be traumatic and that can be painful. And so what's that all about here? That's a big theme in this chart, is the word forgotten. So first we have it with the name of the moon. That child is forgotten. And we'll talk a little bit more about that in a second, like how we can work with that. But there's another forgotten, in that the point at which the sun and the moon are at, the degrees, is in the bends or square to the north and south node of the moon. And what this can translate into in quick speak is that anything in the bends and the nodes is considered a forgotten step in some astrological communities. And I feel like that's about right on point. Something that's a forgotten step. Like, I'm trying to skip that. In this case, like, are you trying to forget? Are we trying to forget where we've been overlooked? And we're just like, no, that it actually kind of hurt us maybe a little bit. Or maybe we're reflecting on where we were forgotten, and maybe that kind of hurt. And so to acknowledge that it hurt, but also realize that, like, do I have it what it takes in me to do this? And assess for yourself. Don't let others tell you what you can and cannot do, even when the chips are down. This is that moon. It's like, keep doing it. Keep doing it if it's right for you. And we talk about that reassessing, like, is it true? Do you believe that's true, or is it not true? Right? Kind of pull that out there a little bit. And so there are some core things within this moon that can be happening at this time. And so think about this when you're doing your new moon manifestation. Not that you're manifesting it, but maybe it's energy that you want to counter it or to foster a healthy way of it. And so I have kind of little things written down. So where are you underestimated in your life now? Are you overlooking that? And is it like actually a sore spot for you? And just, are you trying to ignore it? Are you underestimating yourself? Is it another person? You have to kind of, think about that a little bit. It's kind of important, because You cannot underestimate yourself, because an underestimated Capricorn energy, wherever it is in your chart, is often a depressed energy. That is one of the harder parts of Saturn, and so be on the lookout for some serious depression at this time. Not only is it dark here in the northern hemisphere, and it's cold in some areas and dreary, it's like if someone doesn't believe in that person, because that Capricorn isn't Leo, but it keeps telling you can't do it, you can't do it. They'll keep doing it, but I think they internalize that pain a lot. And, at some point they do go, oh, I don't think I can do it. And they just kind of freeze. That Saturn froze, right? That because Saturn is cold. So where is there, maybe we were freezing up? And where do we maybe repress our emotions and our pain? Like I was just talking about, maybe we're repressing it. Are we forgetting our feelings in the situation? They are important. You don't have to be dramatic about it, but they do play a factor in how we exist. And maybe we're skipping that, like, I'm fine, even though you're choking it down, and really on the inside, it's making you sad. That's not good, in my opinion, at least. Do you forget the times you were left out? And this means going backward to childhood, because often this kind of talks about going to the past. Like we've all been forgotten at least once. Maybe your parents left you at an amusement park. I mean, that's extreme. But maybe, you weren't picked, right? You were overlooked, like at gym, and everyone looked at you like, oh, that person does not have the skill. Like, and you're last, right? You don't have what it takes to do what they want. Kind of hurts, right? And it doesn't have to be even about popularity, just knowing that people underestimate your talent and your gift. And so with that trauma kind of coming up, it's important to actually try to look at this at that time, because it's a great time to release it if it needs to be let go. Like, okay, that's how they saw it. I'm done with that. So you can kind of let that sadness go that's kind of hidden. And maybe they were right. Maybe you couldn't. Maybe you have to face the fact that you didn't have what it takes then. Ouch. But you can learn from it, right? And go forward. Like, what do I need to get to where I want to go? Say you want to be picked first in, next time as an adult, say, in a sport. What do you need to get there? But also, maybe you can look back at the things you've left by the wayside because you were told you don't have what it takes. Maybe it's time to rekindle that. It's a project you let go, it just seemed too hard and too difficult. It might be the time, because you might have the resources now. And also, it's time to think about what you can control and what you can't. This is a time where power is important, and the power is in knowing what you can control and not you being able to exert yourself and hoping it comes out a way, but just knowing that you're going to commit, and what comes. And lastly, where do you want to succeed? Because this is Capricorn. Have that vision and work with it, and don't forget it. All those things that I just said, you might be trying to forget. You might try to be ignoring, and you might be trying to ignore your responsibility to your responsibility. And that's okay. But this is a time for you to allow yourself to step up and become your own authority in the area of Capricorn in your life, and also potentially your Saturn. So it's deeply moving, and there's a lot of beautiful aspects and a lot of opportunity for growth. And I hope that everyone enjoys it. My key takeaways of this whole chart: remember, reflect, vision, and start building your dream. I've talked about it a lot. And I think, when Neptune leaves Pisces and Saturn leaves Pisces, there will be other things going in there, but there's going to be a deep shift away from kind of that visioning for a while. So utilize this. That slow energy is trying to help us do it in a gentle way. I mean, Capricorn can seem a little heavy sometimes, but really it's giving us time. This is not Mars going, here's your dream, do it now, you're going to be gone in a month and it's it. If you don't do it now, it's over, right? It's like, no, this is a bigger, longer thing going on here, and kind of enjoy the beauty of that. With that, I'm Jennifer at Eureka Astrology and Healing. I meant for this to be shorter, but I got inspired, so I hope you like what I'm doing. Hit like, subscribe, and may the plants ground you and the stars guide you. Ciao for now.